You're listening to the Tuesday Review. I'm Nathan, as always joined by James and Callum. How you going, boys?
Not bad.
All right, so another interesting week this week. We've got a few good movies to talk about, a few classics.
Yeah, before we jump in, just a reminder that our friends over at Button Fox, who are releasing their card game, Frayed Ally, the Kickstarter for that is ending in a couple of days. We're recording this on a Tuesday, obviously. The Kickstarter ends on Thursday, the 14th. So what's today? Today's Tuesday, the 12th. So it's ending Thursday. So by the time the podcast listeners hear this on the Wednesday,
be a day left.
There'll probably be like a day left. So if you can contribute to their Kickstarter, like I said a couple of weeks ago, even if you're not really interested in the game, just chip in $1. Everything helps.
If you do miss it, there might be a chance to contribute after as well. Because sometimes the Kickstarters let you contribute when it's already funded.
Yeah, but I think it's better to do it now, especially when they're trying to hit their last stretch goal. So help them out with that, because that's a really cool game that we're really looking forward to. We're just going to take it easy tonight and talk about some stuff we've been watching like the last couple of weeks.
Before that as well, if I'm not sure if podcast listeners would be aware. Yeah, we're working hard on the YouTube in the last week or two, so we've uploading some of the older episodes on the YouTube. Let us know what you think if you're a newer listener.
If you're a new listener, just ignore them until...
I had a good idea, boys.
Yeah.
I wanted to save it for the show. I've been thinking we should train our own large language model, and then you can see how we feel about a movie of your choosing. Can you imagine that? An AI bot? The Tuesday review bot.
Tuesday review bot.
Tuesday GPT. Here we go.
Yeah, how would the boys feel about this?
Or just get a transcript of all the reviews.
Or you know what? They could just message us and ask us, because that's every episode. We're like, let us know.
Just be, it stinks.
It stinks.
That's what. Just wait for the Cousins coin. Coming soon.
This is now a crypto podcast.
Oh, no.
But anyway, the YouTube.
Yeah,
so we finally did it.
We've been putting some work in. We got some of the older episodes now. We're up to like episode 15, 16, whatever it is. My computer's only so powerful, so Alan's going to have to help out a little bit with some of the episodes that go for over 3 hours.
Shout out to Alan for helping out.
Yeah, big thank you to Alan.
Thank you to Nathan for dealing with all the YouTube stuff, because it's been busy since
it's
PAX.
Very busy. Look, luckily I budgeted some time off work to kind of do this anyway. So I'm intended to do it in this.
And hopefully once we catch up to the,
it'll be much less.
It'll be easier.
So it takes me, with an older computer, it takes like 15 minutes to render like a clip just under an hour. And when some of our videos get close to 4 hours, I'm like, I'm not sure if my computer can handle that.
Especially like our older episodes, we used to do 2 hours quite often.
Yeah.
So some of those older episodes are quite long.
Yeah, but Avengers Endgame is next, and that's like 3 hours. That was 45 minutes.
That was stupid. I regret that. I apologize to everyone. What was that, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
That was a dumb idea.
But we've also got some of our PAX footage uploaded now.
Yeah.
So the Spies and Soldiers videos are up. There's a playthrough and the developer interview. Yeah.
So we're finally, after a couple of months, we finally got a couple of our PAX videos out.
More will be coming. Keep an eye out on our YouTube at Tuesday Review AU, I assume. Yeah. There'll be more PAX footage coming as I'm learning the skills to put them out.
Yeah, it's still a learning curve, but once we get all these up, hopefully it'll be easier to do in the future. And,
definitely. I think the more I do, the easier it'll be, because I learn the skills, I get comfortable with the programs, that's all I had for housekeeping. I guess we get straight into it. What did you want to talk about first, boys? Who wants to go first?
You go first.
I go first?
We can talk about the holdovers, just a spoiler-free...
No, maybe we'll wait for James to see that. I think if James can see it by next Tuesday, if he's intending to, then we can talk about it for our pre-Christmas episode.
I do think we should talk about what James was talking about that before the show, actually. We should preface this.
Yeah.
With how unfair it is that in Australia we cannot watch this at a Christmas movie. I should add, The Holdovers is a Christmas movie. Though we are not able to watch it in Australia until January, like nearly midway through January.
Yeah.
What a joke.
And it's already come out in the US.
We were able to watch it because it's available on streaming in the US.
Yeah, and it's something we talk about a lot, but we were talking about it especially last week, where there's months go by from when a movie's released in the US to when it comes out here. And there are specifically a lot of movies coming out now in America that don't come out in Australia until January, February or after.
It's egregious.
It's ridiculous, especially like a lot of these movies go straight to streaming in the US, and it's like we're still waiting around for. It's just like,
it's unfortunate that Australia is a secondary market at this point, but yeah, it's just not fair that we have to wait until next year to watch a Christmas film.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of movies on my list that are already out in the US that I'm sort of waiting for to come out here, but I think in some cases it's just got to,
It's an uncomfortable thing, right? Because we love movies, we cherish movies, we want to support the industry, but sometimes it feels like they don't support us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
So it's like I would have loved to see the holdovers at the movies, and if given the opportunity, I definitely will, even though I already seen the film. But it's like, man, if you're not going to make it we've talked about this a million times on the show,
and it's been happening for years, and I thought it was getting better, but it seems to be getting worse now.
This is punishment for Mission Impossible. Don't forget this.
Damn you, Tom Cruise! Why did you have to like Australia so much in release?
We got Mission Impossible first, so now we have to pay.
Everyone's jealous.
Yeah.
You wait till the video games start getting censored and cancelled.
Oh man,
it's all going to happen at once next year.
Oh god.
All right, so if I'm going first, the only movie I've got to talk about that sort of Callum also doesn't have to talk about tonight is I rewatched You've Got Mail.
Oh, nice.
The Nora Ephron.
I think we talked about this We've talked about this before, I know.
Have we?
Probably. I rewatched it at some point. I might have mentioned it.
Yeah, 100% we've talked about this. No, you go again,
Okay.
yeah. But I know, in the last year maybe,
Yeah.
I reckon. But anyway, go ahead.
Might have been me. Must have been Callum talking about it. I haven't seen it in years, so I rewatched it.
I don't think I've ever seen the whole thing.
They don't make them
Don't-
like
I haven't seen Sleepless in Seattle, and I haven't seen...
When Harry Met Sally. You haven't
No,
seen
I've seen When Harry Met Sally, of course. Don't be ridiculous.
Have you seen Notting Hill?
No. Why would I watch
No, we're talking about Nora Ephron here.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Show some respect.
No, I remember we had this exact same discussion a while ago. Yeah, it was like the Nora Ephron thing.
Yeah, that would have been me because I was on that train.
Yeah, that was you,
Yeah.
No, just to say, keep it short, I liked it. But it doesn't always sit right, this movie. Because it's a bit...
hasn't aged
It's
well.
no, it's kind of so
It's not...
the action. No, what I mean is like when you actually break the movie down, it's about a corporate tycoon kind of guy. Who
I remember we had this exact same discussion.
It's the emotional manipulation in the movie that kind
it's
of
weird.
makes me weird.
Because I remember we were talking about, it's like there's like a little bookshop owner who has to go up against this giant sort of company, but then they fall in love, and then his act of kindness is to just buy her out or whatever, or to destroy her.
The whole kind of thing is like, he does business as business, go to the mattresses, that whole kind of thing. But then there's that whole kind of thing where he's giving her advice and he's emotionally manipulating her through email. And I'm like, I like the movie, but I don't like that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get a perfect rating from me because I think there's elements of it that definitely have not aged well in that respect.
It's like a weird emotional message delivered in a really saccharine, sweet way.
Yeah.
I think
it's like people are like, oh, it's so romantic, but it's really
he's a creeper.
Yeah, the last time we talked about this, I said the same thing. Is like if you look at almost any romantic comedy, especially
there's some
up
manipulation
until recently,
going on,
it's like they're really creepy if you think about it for more than 2 seconds.
These romantic situations don't happen organically very often, so they have to.
There's always some like weird stalking going on, and breaking the woman down until she says yes, and it's just like. It's kind of cute in the movie because it's a montage and there's music and
you change the music into something sinister.
He's like a lovable, and he's like really good looking, and it's just like,
but it's very close to being a crime film.
Yeah, exactly. You just change the soundtrack and all of a sudden you've got like a stalker.
I think When Harry Met Sally is one of the few that don't really do that as such.
That one, that one's less.
That's because the relationship starts out as a friendship and then it kind of just grows from there. So
that's also a 50-50 split where it's kind of like the investment from both characters.
Yeah, that's also true because it's very well balanced.
There's no imbalance of power in When Harry Met Sally.
He's not spending the whole movie like outside her window trying to get her back. It's like they have conversations, like they hang out.
Like Joe Fox in You've Got Mail, for instance, has that power because he knows the secret, right? And he exploits that secret.
Yeah. He knows something she doesn't. Yeah.
And they kind of use that to upset the balance. He uses that to upset the balance of power in their relationship or friendship.
It's also possible that the scripts didn't start that way because Nora Ephron was a talented writer.
It was based on a play.
Oh, well, yeah, so maybe they adjusted things.
I'm sure they did. I think also the email and the internet was new.
Yeah, it is new.
And there's an element of
just trying to shoehorn that in there.
Possibly.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, look, it's good. It's a classic.
It's a fun film.
But it has some issues that we can't overlook in today's age.
I think we've talked about before.
A lot of older movies.
There are movies you can like and appreciate while also sort of acknowledging that they're problematic or whatever.
All right. The other movie I have to talk about today is The Dark and the Wicked, which me and Callum watched. And Alum. We liked it, but it has...
With an asterisk.
It has the problems in horror movies that James hates. It's over-reliance on... So it's about an old man's dying, essentially, and the family are there to care for him.
Yeah, the two children of this married couple go back to the ranch, like their ancestral ranch, to help the mother care for the dying father.
Okay.
And for some reason that's not really explained, a demon wants the old man's soul, and he'll do anything to get it.
Yeah.
And that's the only plot you're sort of given, and that's the only plot you'll get. All right.
Yeah.
It's very. I
think I saw the trailer for this.
Was
it straight to streaming?
It's a Shudder original.
Okay, yeah.
And when it came
out a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it caused buzz because it was like one of the first really high budget American Shudder. So Shudder's an interesting service because it has a whole bunch of ethnic originals. So, like, they'll fund, like, a Thai horror movie. They'll fund Indonesian horror.
But they have a lot of English language, but they're usually very low budget.
Yeah, correct. So, like, the international budgets are usually a lot better.
Okay.
Because I think they scout festivals and they find films to make originals and whatever. But this was one of the first big American Shudder originals.
Okay.
And so it kind of made buzz. And I could be wrong about being one of the first, but it was certainly, when I saw older articles about it when it came out, being like, the big Shudder original. And
look, it's good.
I liked it, but
it has some good tension. It has some good terror elements to it. Like it can be scary, but man, it's just jump scares.
Yeah.
And when it's not just relying on jump scares, it's effective.
Yeah.
But then there's a good Letterboxd review that was basically just like, demon in front of you, close your eyes, demon gone, close your eyes, demon behind you, boo.
Yeah.
The movie.
Yeah.
And that kind of just sums up the movie. That kind of ruined it for me. It could have been so much of a better movie if they'd invested in the plot instead of just shoehorning every jump scare they could.
Yeah, it's just easier to just be like, jump scare.
Did you ever watch The Taking of Deborah Logan?
Yes, I did. I remember you told me you really liked it, but it's been years since I watched it, but I remember not liking it a lot.
One of the things that I think was good in that film is that it doesn't just use jump scares. It has this weird atmospheric kind of melancholy, and it's uncomfortable. And like it's like the way the old woman will look at someone with such hate, and like that causes tension because it's like, why is she looking at me that way? Or she'll do something weird in the kitchen, and it's like, why are you doing that? And then she'll do something strange. You know what I mean? It's like an otherness to it, which I think should be used more. This has like none of that really. It has the old woman...
No subtlety.
Well, she cuts her fingers off in an uncomfortable scene, and that's about as cool as it gets.
But that's gore. That's different from like an
but you know what's
atmosphere.
coming. They build it up so that you know it's coming, and you're sitting there cringing because you're like, it's going to happen. There's some cool, scary stuff, but like Nathan said, it's a lot of jump scares. There is no backstory, which I hated. So it's like, why is the father being terrorized by this devil? We don't know. They introduce a character who has no relation to anyone in the town. You only find that out. Spoilers for The Dark and the Wicked. I'm sorry. You're only
spoilers for a movie with very little plot.
That's a good point. Can you spoil something that doesn't have a story? Anyway, it turns out that...
Because I don't want to watch it, but one of our listeners might. Does it matter?
Anyway, it turns out certain characters have no connection to any other characters, and then they're there only for the scare to pay off that they were never really in the town.
Oh.
And I'm like, well, why do I care?
But who is phone?
No, correct.
Yeah, exactly.
That happens. That scare happens. The Who is Phone scare happens.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it's like stuff like that where it's...
So it seems like... I haven't seen it, but from what you're telling me, even though Shudder maybe put in a couple extra bucks to make this a bit higher, like a bit.
You
for
can't,
all I know, they
can't
just-
polish it.
The script
Yeah.
was still your typical
Yeah.
like low budget,
Yeah.
straight to streaming.
Like, there's no. So what I liked about the film is it's incredibly bleak. You know what I mean? It's like there's no winning against the devil.
We had to
Okay,
watch
yeah.
some classic Simpsons afterwards.
Yeah, because
to
palate
Alan.
cheer us all
cleanser.
up.
Yeah, Alan was a bit.
Alan was like, "We have to watch something happy before I go home." All right.
Yeah. That's what I like about the film. Is it's like
Yeah.
you can't win against evil.
Mm.
Doesn't matter if you get the priest
They're the
in.
scariest horror
Yeah.
movies where it's.
Because get the priest in. What's he gonna do? Nothing. Like
yeah.
that's kind of it's different. You know what I mean? Usually the priest comes in and he's like, praise Jesus and the American flag, and the eagle comes
Yeah.
in, and then the devil's like, no,
Yeah,
America.
the sun rises. Melting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like not in this film.
No.
Which I liked. You know what I mean? Like not all films. Obviously I'm not going to say how the movie ends.
Yeah.
But not all films should have a happy story.
Happy ending. Yeah.
Yeah, and this one, it has an ending. I'm not going to spoil how it ends.
Mm.
But I thought that was, it ends in the dumbest way possible because of course it did. It ended, it's, kind of like a jump scary thing.
Mm.
I'm like, you could have ended on. There's a scene a couple minutes earlier that you should have ended on. It would have been a pretty great ending.
This is why I love Talk to Me so much, and why I think it's one of the best horror movies of the last however many years, is because the ending is so effective and memorable.
It also had a story, James.
And it also had like backstory. It had backstory and lore. But it doesn't do that. Like it didn't feel cheap. It didn't feel cheap. A lot of horror movies, they do that final jump scare.
Yeah.
The Friday 13th movies are famous for it.
The boy out of the water.
And it's just like, okay. Sometimes it works, but I think a lot of the time it would have been better if they just cut it a few scenes early.
There is a good movie in here. It's just not in the script. Like, you know what I mean? Like the acting's good. The core story has promise. They just cut all the. There's no world building. There
needs to be an extra half an hour in this movie of lore building
and character building. We need flashbacks. We need there needs to be more exposition about what's going on with the family.
I guess, yeah. I guess this is why I kind of avoid a lot of these movies, because it's to be expected from.
Got to embrace it, James. Lean into it.
But
mate.
yeah, I mean,
wade through those waters.
Yeah, because you guys are always, especially Nathan's always like, "Oh, watch this really bad horror movie on Shudder," and I'm like, "Why do you do that to yourself? You know it's going to be bad."
Skill issue.
Yeah,
taste issue.
But yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on The Dark and the Wicked because it doesn't deserve it.
Well, I think we spend enough time on it. That's the longest review that movie's ever been. We should look it up. Has anyone else reviewed this movie for this one? I'm sure there's like heaps of horror podcasts and websites.
Sure. All right, look, that's all I've got for films. What have you got, Callum?
Do you want to talk about Calvaire while we're talking horror?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
The Ordeal?
Yeah, okay, yeah. That's actually something I wanted to talk about because... So Callum and Nathan watched. Did you find it on Shudder?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So this is kind of like a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah.
This is a case of that, where because Nathan and Callum, especially Nathan, just wade through the bottom of the barrel.
I do the work, so
But
James doesn't have to.
I only tell you to watch good films.
Yeah, so it's like
well, he told people to watch The Dark and the Wicked, so I don't know about that.
you sort of you watch all these crappy.
No, I said I only told James to watch good films.
Yeah, because he knows he'll get a smack if he's like, why did you recommend it? You wasted my time. Yeah, because you wade all through these, like, you're just on streaming all the time. Oh, that looks interesting. I'll watch it. Even though you know it's going to be bad. And I'm going to say, Nathan, what are you doing? You know that's going to be bad. But in this case, you stumbled across this 2004 French kind of horror thriller called Calvaire. And then Callum messaged me and said, I think you should watch it. It's kind of Christmas adjacent and it's pretty good. And
Takes place at Christmas.
Yeah, and I was like,
poor Alum, he sat through it.
Oh, did he?
No, he enjoyed it.
He enjoyed it, but I don't think it's what he's used to. But
all right.
Yeah.
To preface this, it's a sweet Christmas romantic tragedy between Bartel and Gloria.
correct.
That's all you
Yes.
need to know. Go watch it.
Yeah. Watch it with your mum. It's a Christmas classic. No, don't, no. It's
pretty good.
good, but
It's intense, right?
it's very intense.
The reason I wanted to watch it was like, I've been kind of bored with horror. I watched all the Friday the 13th movies.
Yeah.
I watched all the Jasons. I watched all the Chucky films. I've been overloaded on horror. So I'm like, but I still want to watch horror, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I saw in the description it had extreme French horror film. And I was like, okay, let's put that on, something a bit more extreme. And it wasn't as extreme as I hoped it would be, but I guess it was thematically extreme.
Yeah, like the first half you're like, you know, it's about a guy who's like traveling home for Christmas, let's just say. He gets lost in the woods. His car breaks down. He stops at a
small town.
Not hotel, like a little inn.
Near a small town, yeah.
Yeah. And you think you've seen that a million times before. You've seen that kind of in a horror movie. And then like halfway through, then it becomes like the French New Extremity, like, okay, look, just going to kick this up a notch.
Well, so me and Nathan were expecting it.
Are we keeping this spoiler free?
Yeah, we'll just
relatively, yeah. We're watching it, and then I said to Nathan, it's kind of got Texas Chainsaw vibes.
Oh, I think one of the very light criticisms is that it wears its influences on its sleeve. Like, I was like, oh, that's Texas Chainsaw.
Oh, that's Misery.
Oh, that's Deliverance. Oh, that's Misery, yeah. So it's not super original, but because it has the Christmas sort of vague connection, and because it's got that kind of new, French New Extreme element, the first half you kind of like, you think you know what you're going to get, and then it goes.
It has that slow build, and then when it hits, it goes nuts.
And then like there were a couple bits where I think I audibly was like
gasped.
They're like, what?
With the stable scene.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like it's not to say.
Hand in front of the mouth.
Yeah, not to say that like I was like so oh my god, this movie's crazy, like it's the worst thing. But there are a couple of scenes where I was like, what the hell is what?
Yeah, we all had that reaction to some of the scenes. How good is it?
I think if
it's a good watch, it's a good entertaining.
Yeah, I think if you can stomach certain things.
Look, trigger warning for domestic and sexual abuse as well, because it is animal abuse. Yeah, it's a pretty thematically heavy film. So if those are your trigger warnings, you should probably give it a miss.
Say all that, but it's not all that graphic. Just to be clear, I would argue
thematically heavy.
It's very heavy.
It's very heavy, but it's not like
you don't see anything.
It's also ground. It's not supernatural, so you can't divorce yourself and say like,
oh, it's just a monster doing it.
Yeah, it's just like no, it's this kind of Deliverance-esque kind of horrible.
It's just don't go to remote Belgian towns. That's all it's about.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they have problems with the.
Well, there's no ladies in the town.
I mean.
When they're dancing?
Yeah.
How good was
that? That was like
it.
Twin Peaks level weirdness.
Loved it.
Like that's like kind of Texas Chainsaw weirdness.
I love that. That was one of the best scenes. Like, stay away from my wife.
Yeah.
And they're like, our wife.
Yeah.
I love how they all think it's the same person too. It's like,
yeah.
Oh, so good.
That's so my weird. Only criticism is that we need more backstory for Gloria, I feel. Just then maybe the mystery is a part of the fun.
Yeah. I think like when this movie ended, it's kind of one of those endings where it's like, oh, that's it.
Yeah. I had questions.
Yeah, but also
and I have theories, which I'm
not
going to go into.
But also the more you flesh it out, like the less effective I think some of it would be.
I think the horror is the fact that this dude just stumbled into one hell of a town.
Yeah.
I just think everyone in the town has the same folie à deux almost. Kind of like that craziness about relating to a specific individual. It's just a very interesting movie. It's a good Christmas movie.
Yeah.
It certainly is.
And actually what I was going to say is that, so it's called Calvaire, which the English title comes up as The Ordeal, which I'm like, that's such a boring title for this kind of movie.
Yeah, I would just call it Gloria.
Yeah, that's actually a really good title. But I looked it up, and Calvaire actually translates to Calvary, which is where Jesus was crucified, which ties into some of the themes in the movie. I'm like, well, Calvary is a sort of slightly better title, but it can also, when I looked it up, the French to English translation, it can also be a synonym for torture or suffering. So I'm like, that makes more sense if it's Calvary because of the character's suffering and what's happening to him. Because I thought The Ordeal was such a boring... and sometimes the translation, it's like the French sounds much cooler. But that was just something that bugged me when I saw the subtitle come up, The Ordeal. Like,
yeah, it was beautifully shot. It looked nice. You know, there has a lot.
It's got a kind of grungy early 2000s
landscape.
handheld kind of thing going on. But it's just you think you know what you're going to get at the start, and then it kind of goes crazy, and then you're like, okay. And then I like kind of when movies go a bit crazy.
No, the movie was as you said, it's not the most original movie in the world.
And it leaves a lot to be desired, but it was like entertaining.
Yeah, exactly. Which is
if you're into that kind of
weird extreme horror films.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get back to what else James is watching, we'll be back after this quick break. You are back on the Tuesday review. Having I guess it's a loosely based Christmas episode. I suppose.
Why do we call it a religious episode?
No, loosely based Christmas episode. I said.
Yeah, I know.
Religious episode.
Why is? Oh, I guess my movie has some.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I guess you've got Mail is the outlier.
Yeah, that's true.
And then what? Your Dark and Wicked was horror, and then Calvaire was kind of horror thriller with the religious.
Yeah,
of Christmas.
And then my movie has a religious.
Yeah, true.
I don't know why we're trying to tie them together.
Anyway,
we're just doing a review roundtable. Whatever we watched, we watched. It doesn't. We don't plan these things.
No.
We're all so busy. We come in the studio and go, turn on the mics and go, okay, what have you watched? Because I don't know what else. We don't have time to plan anything.
No. Especially this time of the year.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. But hopefully we got some stuff set up for next year. Hopefully, some cool stuff.
Some preface to this though. I've been trying to get James to watch one of the movies he's going to be talking about for a long time.
So Callum actually talked about this earlier this year, and I wrote it down. It was episode 163, I think, back in July of this year.
Okay.
And I remember we talked about it. So if you want to hear sort of Callum's thoughts about it and sort of some of my feelings towards
the GOAT,
the director, go back there. But anyway, so I finally Callum lent me his copy, a Blu-ray copy of Andrei Rublev, which is a 1966 black and white period film about a Russian priest and painter in the 15th century. And it's like a 3-hour long kind of exploration of parts of his life and parts of what was going on in Russia at that time. And it's directed by the one and only Andrei Tarkovsky, who I've talked about on the show before. And I've had mixed feelings towards his films that I've seen before. So, you know, like I've talked about it before. I guess I'll talk about it again because you know, I've always heard that, you know, stalker this, stalker that. And it was one of those movies always, you know, and if you're a kind of film lover, you know who Tarkovsky is. He's one of those...
The Russian Kubrick, they used to call him.
Exactly. He's one of those directors who, if you're a film nerd, you have to, you know, seek his stuff out. And so Stalker, I wanted to see it, obviously, for years and years, and I finally went to see it, a film print at the Astor. Like, I wanted to see it properly. And it's a movie I should have loved. Like, on paper, on paper, I'm like, everything about this is amazing. But I don't know, it just rubbed me the wrong way. Especially the end where it gets into this weird kind of anti-intellectual, like very Christian kind of...
He forces his philosophy on the viewer.
Yeah, and I was just... It was just a weird experience. And then I saw Solaris, which was his other sort of sci-fi kind of film. I went to see it at the Astor as well, like on the big screen. It's like I wanted to see these movies properly for the first time. And even though I enjoyed parts of that movie, that rubbed me the wrong way as well. It just left me feeling cold, especially the ending. Maybe that was the point. I don't know. But ever since then, I was kind of like iffy on Tarkovsky. I'm like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. Then Callum was kind of watching. He watched Solaris and Stalker, and then he watched Ivan's Childhood, which was Tarkovsky's first film. And he said, I think you'd like this. So he let me borrow Ivan's Childhood. This was a while ago. And I watched that and I thought it was okay. I'm like, I kind of liked it a bit more than I thought I would. Unfortunately, like, even though it's called Ivan's Childhood, more than half the movie isn't about Ivan. And that's where I had problems with the movie. And I was like, oh, Tarkovsky's being Tarkovsky again. This is why I don't like him. But all the stuff with Ivan, I was like, this is great. And it's weird too, because I can't exactly put my finger on what I don't like about him, because like I said, on paper, the kind of weird, slow kind of Russianness of his movies and philosophical nature, it's like, it should be something right up my alley.
You know, I think about it. I have thought about it a lot. You know, because you know,
it's what we do in our spare time: meditate on Tarkovsky.
Yeah, I mean, but movies is all I think about.
I really
food.
The thing is, I really like his works. I all the movies I've seen, I've really enjoyed. But I think that one of the problems he does have is that he seems to, in a film sense, he lets his mind wander. And a lot of people would say, "Oh, it's
unfocused." Yeah.
A lot of people say, "Oh, it's because he really enjoyed making surreal, dreamlike movies." But there's a difference. Like, so David Lynch does that well.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas with Tarkovsky, he lets the surrealness overtake the film. It's not a part of the film. It's Tarkovsky forcing his will on the picture. And in terms of like movies like Stalker, for example, and Solaris,
which are based on books,
that actually overwrites some of the script.
Yeah.
So you lose some of the essential elements of the source material because Tarkovsky gets in his own head and he does this dreamy stuff. But then you do get some of the, like Ivan's Childhood, for example, where he'll have a good idea, but he doesn't capitalize on it all the time. And it's one of those things where it can be hard to quantify.
It's not even like, again, on paper, like, I loved unfocused films about with an artist, a director.
Look at The Maiden.
Yeah, but that had more of a.
The director knew what he wanted to focus on.
Yeah, exactly. But even though it didn't have a traditional A to B plot, it was like all focused on that one sort of. It was in one direction.
Yeah.
Whereas Tarkovsky's like, he's very like, I'm over here now. No, I'm over here. And on paper, I should love that. I love a lot of movies that are kind of meandering and it's just a director kind of working through
a stream of consciousness.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, they had budget issues, so it was like they were just making stuff up. And I'm like, oh, this is great. For some reason, Tarkovsky does it in a way where I'm like, dude, get back on track or something.
Yeah, because a lot of it can feel conceited.
Maybe, yeah.
It's just the way he does it. It feels it's like he did it one time and he got really big applause, and then he's like, "Well, that's who I am now."
Yeah.
Like I said, but I don't mean to hate on the man. I like his films, but I can see, like, negative reinforcement could have helped keep him on track a little.
I don't know. I feel like he was doing what he wanted to do, and not because.
Which is ironic considering he was a Soviet filmmaker.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's part of the problem too. Is like he had to work within a
framework that wasn't of his choosing.
Yeah, strict framework. But also, he's known as a director with an auteur, with a voice, a touch that can be seen on the film. Anyway, yeah. So I have all these complex feelings towards him, even though on paper he should be a director like I love. So the movies I had seen, Ivan's Childhood, Solaris, and Stalker, I was kind of like, eh. And I always wanted to watch his historical epic, which...
Considered his masterpiece as well.
Yeah, and it's only his second film, which is pretty crazy, Andrei Rublev. And I was just like, okay, Andrei Rublev is going to be the last Tarkovsky movie I watch. If I don't like it, I'm going to give up on his filmography. If I do like it, maybe I'll keep going. One day I want to revisit the films I've already seen, and maybe I'll feel differently towards them. But Andrei Rublev is like where the buck stops. I'm like, Callum lent it to me. And I finally got around to watching it. And it's a 3-hour long, black and white historical drama. The first hour, I was like, damn it, Tarkovsky, it is so boring. I was just, it's meandering. I
liked it. I thought it was great.
The first hour, I was just like, come on, man. Like, what is going on?
I did a lot of research before I watched it, so I knew what I'd signed up for.
Yeah, but, you shouldn't have to do research to...
Oh, no, I was just curious. I knew that it started off, like, kind of, like,
But again, on paper, I should love that. Visually, I was like, I love what's going on.
Yeah,
but
like
he does it in... It's
something about the man's just shit's changed.
Yeah, I can't put my finger on it, right?
It's because he's Russian, isn't it, James?
No, it's not even that, because I've seen like 3 or 4 different versions of Uncle Vanya. Like Russian navel gazing.
Russian Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, Russian navel gazing is my... is up my alley.
It's my thesis.
Yeah. So but just something the way he does it. So the first hour of the movie, I'm like, damn it, I'm done.
That balloon scene though, that was cool, right?
It was cool, but I was just like, okay,
how do you do that in 1960 with such a limited budget? I don't know.
I mean, it's all like. Anyway, we won't go into the technicality of how the cranes work. What was I saying? Yeah, the first hour, I'm just like, I don't know. But, again, on paper, I should love this. Everything going on, everything, weird and kind of meandering. I'm like, I've seen other films, Fellini kind of going off on his weird tangents. I'm like, I love that. But here's this I don't like. Then the next 2 hours, I loved it.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's like once the characters have been established, their problems start to arise, but suddenly there's a focus to Tarkovsky.
But like the first hour, maybe a bit under an hour, it's like there is no real establishing. It's just like, here's some people. There's no real attempt to flesh anyone out or develop characters. But I guess by the 2 hour mark, stuff starts to happen that is affecting the main character, and you sort of get used to the world you're in, but also the things happening, even though again there's not like a traditional plot or story, or you're not even following Andrei Rublev for a lot of the time, you start to see like Russian history and recurring characters,
attacks by the
Tatars.
The Tatars. Yeah. I thought that was awesome.
That was great. Although the war scenes and all that.
Just the way they communicated with each other, the cultural exchange. Like, they didn't kill everyone. There was like some people they let live. And
it's and then the whole thing with the princes and then later, we talked about this when Callum talked about it previously, but like the whole Bellmaker thing, which is like the climax of the movie, which is incredible.
That blew my socks off. Yeah. For all I know, he made it all up and it doesn't work anywhere close to that way. You know what I mean? But it looked so legit when I watched it.
Yeah.
Like the way they went about the process of making the bricks.
They have to make a mold for a giant medieval church bell. I mean, how do you do that in the Middle Ages?
Yeah, and it's like the father handed the secrets down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he needs the specific type of mud, and he tries
he
so
has
hard
to find the right clay to make the mold in the ground, and then they have to pour the bronze
and you're on the edge of your seat, man. Like, is it going to work? Is it not?
And like, and it's, a proper old period movie where there's like hundreds of people on screen, and they're all in, medieval costume and it's just,
absolutely awesome.
In the Soviet era, so the film probably didn't cost that much money, and there are obviously certain restrictions on things. But yeah, by the end of it, I was like, damn, that was pretty great movie.
Yeah.
I think, and I even went back and started watching the first hour again now that I'd seen the 2 hours that I liked after that, and was kind of like not 100% on it, but was sort of like, okay, I'm feeling a bit better about this now.
Would you say you Andrei Rublev?
No. Oh, no.
That was bad.
No, it wasn't. The audience, the live studio audience disagrees.
All those people in the grandstand. Tuesday Review is filmed in in front of a live studio.
We need to record that.
I'm sure we could get on the soundboard.
Yeah, we can. But we'll get someone to record the Tuesday review.
No, but you just get one off YouTube. Get from an old TV show and play it at the start of every episode. That can be our intro because we don't have an intro music.
Can I just say?
Yeah.
While we're still talking about it before we move on, because we don't have that much time left.
Yeah.
It's a better Star Wars movie than The Last Jedi.
100%.
The way the son goes off on his own. The son, I mean the younger Andrei Rublev. He goes off on his own, and then he learns, and he comes back and becomes the master. And then just also the good versus evil. Although they're not violent monks, they're literally like monk priestly men. They don't really do much combat.
No, I mean that's part of the movie. Not to go too much into it, but they're priests. But when the war starts happening and there's this big battle scene, some of the priests have to take up arms to defend themselves and other people, and then that's a big sticking point for Andrei Rublev because obviously it's a sin to kill people, and so that's a big part of the movie and his journey into like the last hour of the movie. And also, again, like Tarkovsky's kind of religious beliefs and stuff that kind of rubbed me the wrong way in some of his other films. This film, obviously it makes sense because of, it's about the church,
it's a very Catholic.
Catholic, but
Catholicism
also,
is a very big part of the
film.
But
also, it's like, it's not just, it's more like, there's characters questioning their beliefs and their faith, and there's sort of, is more nuanced than...
it's like an examination of faith as well.
Yeah, like and Andrei Rublev's, not... Because like I said, like he like disappears from large parts of the film, which you'd think would be a bad thing. I mean, in some ways, but... it kind of lends to this whole, like, his experience and how that...
The growth is off screen.
Almost, yeah, which normally would be a bad thing.
Yeah.
But then he, like, comes back...
Luke.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, I don't know, it's told in this way where it finally clicked for me. And I really liked it. And like I said, I went back and started to watch the first hour again. I was like, oh, okay. So I think in future, when I watch this movie again, I think the whole experience will be...
But the ending, man.
Oh, so good.
Because Andrei Rublev was a real painter. He was was he a monk or technically was he a priest? Was he ordained?
I don't know.
Because I can't remember if he was ordained or if he was just a monk.
I think it must have been just a brother or something. Cause,
it's about a real man who was an actual painter of... So there was a whole type of monk.
He's an icon painter.
That's such a dumb thing to say. There was a variety of monk whose job it was to paint chapels and things like that.
Yeah.
And Andrei Rublev is a famous Russian historical painter.
Yeah.
And at the end of the film, so you see this man's whole life and the carving of Russian history this film takes place in. But it ends with this beautiful sequence where it goes from black and white and it turns into color as you see on the actual murals Andrei Rublev painted.
Yeah, his real life murals and icon paintings.
And I thought that was an incredible way to end the film.
Especially because, it's a movie about a painter, but there's hardly any painting in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's 3 hours long and you get to the end and then you see those real paintings and it's like...
Beautiful.
And I'm like, oh, Tarkovsky did that on purpose.
He winks at the camera.
Yeah, it also kind of ties into Andrei Rublev's... what's the word? He can't find a inspiration to paint. He doesn't want to paint something because it's violent or whatever. It's part the fact that we don't see it in the movie until the very end is like a deliberate. But anyway, so I really liked it, and I was like, "Damn it, Tarkovsky, you got me back." Now I have to watch your other stupid movies. Look, now I have to go into Mirror.
Just in case.
Yeah, just in case.
If you want to stop watching them, James, just put on Nostalgia. And then you'll be... Or Sacrifice, and then you'll be done. I haven't seen them.
What about Mirror?
Mirror is apparently pretty good. I know that Sacrifice is very religious, very, God won't listen to me kind of film.
I'm not against it. It's just the way, especially it was Stalker that rubbed me the wrong way. It's the end of that movie.
Stalker's a weird movie.
Also, the problem with Stalker and Solaris, like you said, it's because they're based on books, and Tarkovsky is just like, throw out the book, do whatever I want. In Stalker's case, it was more because they shot the film closer to the book, and then all the footage got damaged because of the radiation around where they were filming. And so when they reshot it, he was just making it up as he went along. And again, on paper, that should be awesome. But as someone who hasn't read the book, watching the movie, I'm like, oh, you can tell he's just going off the rails. Like, this movie was about something, and now it's about Tarkovsky jerking off. And I would have loved to have seen the original version before the footage was lost. But because he wrote Ivan's Childhood and he wrote Andrei Rublev, I guess they're maybe closer to...
the vision he wants to express.
And you're not feeling like you're losing out on something because the source material, even though I haven't read those novels, you can just tell sometimes.
Like I said, you can feel his influence on it.
Yeah, and you can tell that, like, oh, this story was written to be a certain way, but he's just gone over here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, famously, the author, I think the author of the Solaris novel didn't really appreciate the film. I think
so, yeah.
Because the point of the, right or wrong, the point of one of the big things in the book is just descriptions of plants, things like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. But Tarkovsky was like, nah.
Yeah, but I mean, that makes sense for any filmmaker to be like, well, we can't make this movie about plants. But as someone who hasn't read the Solaris novel, watching the Solaris Tarkovsky movie, I'm like, oh, there's something missing. And Tarkovsky is just going on his weird tangents. Yeah. And especially at the end, I was just like, huh?
Yeah.
And not in a good way. Sometimes I like watching a movie and then just going, huh? And just being completely... But... yeah, so Tarkovsky, every time I try to get out, they pull me back in.
Maybe we should watch another one. You know what I mean?
Well, I think I'm going to have to move on to Mirror because I think chronologically that's sort of... Because I started in the 70s, then I went back to the 60s, and now I have to go back to the 70s, and so I'll go chronological. Now, I'm sure that like Mirror and Sacrifice and Nostalgia are going to be more like wanky and more...
100%.
But again, as far as I know, those are original screenplays.
They are.
So hopefully I won't get that feeling of something missing and something wasted. And yeah, I don't know. Eventually I'll like to go back and revisit Solaris and Stalker. But, watching Andrei Rublev was my sort of, this is going to be the
the
test.
buck stops here.
The test to see of like whether I should even bother anymore. And son of a bitch, like I really like this movie. I liked it so much. Like I said, I was like reading about it, and I was like reading about, there was actually a much longer version, and of course Soviet, Film Council, whatever, cut it down, and the Criterion Blu-ray release has the kind of longer, like 3 hour and 40-minute cut. And I was like, well, crap, now I have to watch that because I want to see like what was cut. And because I generally love long movies, and I think there could be a lot more material that I think would help this movie.
Well, it's such a fascinating period of time. There's so much you could work with.
Yeah. Apparently Tarkovsky's preferred version is the 3 hour version, but I'd like to see the longer version just to see. In
quotes, the preferred version is the one that I was allowed to release in air quotes.
But how
much would I trust that?
Yeah, but I would like to see just what else he got. Yeah. But then also, apparently, the screenplay he wrote not only had a whole bunch of stuff that they never shot, which is not unusual for any movie, but was written not in a standard screenplay format, but more like a novel. And now I want to read that. I can't, like, there's a paperback version on eBay for like over $100.
Kindle?
And I couldn't find it anywhere else. So I'm really hoping that one day I'll be able to find that, or it gets republished or something, especially because he is this, well-known filmmaker. Yeah. So that's something I want to see as well.
If I wasn't broke, that's a Christmas present idea.
Yeah. But it's just especially with the Criterion Blu-ray, I'm hoping that they release a 4K
that'd be
soon.
nice.
So I'm kind of holding out. I'm not gonna break down and buy it. I'm holding out because I feel like this version that Callum's got, the Curzon UK Blu-ray, this is pretty old now, and the Criterion version came out a while ago. So I think he's a filmmaker who is ripe for a
especially in Criterion
re-release.
Getting into the 4K now.
Yeah, they're getting into
some
the 4K.
of the boutique labels doing
and there
4Ks.
are a lot of kind of filmmaker box sets. I mean, there are always filmmaker box sets that come out, but in the last few years there have been some really nice like director focused filmmaker box sets.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm hoping that they either release his whole thing or at least we get a Andrei Rublev 4K, because I'd really like to revisit the movie, especially the longer version, which I'm really interested in. That Russian son of a bitch got me. After all these years.
And he'll rub you the wrong way on the next movie.
Oh, yeah, and the next one I'll hate, and I'll be like, all right, well, at least I have Andrei Rublev.
All right, everyone, that's all the time we've got for tonight. Thank you for listening. Please like and share the Tuesday Review Facebook page, Instagram page, Threads page, Twitter page, Newsmass page. And if you're in Blue Sky, we're on Blue Sky. At Tuesday Review AU on Blue Sky. But
finally got the invite.
We haven't posted anything yet.
No, it's an empty account, but follow us.
Follow us, yeah.
And on YouTube at Tuesday Review AU.
Yeah, check out our YouTube. There's some new videos up, and we're putting up all the older episodes. And once we're caught up, we'll be releasing the current episodes on YouTube for people who want to do that.
Definitely. Please like and share all those pages. Oh, I know it's a lot. Thank you for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week.
Also, follow us on Letterboxd. I'm Channel Drifter, all one word.
Nathan B _90.
Callum Tuesday.
All right, yeah, see what we're watching. And
that's it. And comment on our reviews and tell us how bad we are.
Yeah, tell us we suck.
Yeah.
Tell us how much you loved Stalker.
Hey, I won't argue.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Adios, cousins.